Hey there, this is Adam White, and I wanted to come on and talk to you at this pivotal time in history when we are struggling to overcome racial injustice, police brutality, and all of the chaos that is going on in America in this time and season in 2020. And I shared a video earlier where I told my story of a couple of racial incidents that happened to me growing up, as a young man and throughout time. And so in this video, I talked about things that happen. And so in this video, I want to talk about a couple of solutions. I want to share a bit of information and then talk about solutions, because maybe the question is on your mind: what can I do? I'm one person, and I believe that we can spend our whole time just focusing on the problem. But what can we do besides just doing the marches, besides doing the protests? What else can we do to eradicate a racial injustice in this country permanently, that this does not keep happening, that we don't keep losing innocent lives from our community? So I want to just share with you, what can I do in terms of social and racial equality in America? Adam, I'm just one person. I'm hurting and I'm frustrated. What can I do? So how do we heal from our hurt and our frustration? By coming up with solutions. So let me just, before I do that, share some facts with you, some U.S. facts that I really think you should think about and pay attention to. There's a reason why we have injustice. There's a reason why blacks are being murdered in the streets by police officers. And I want to give you some facts that I don't know if you know this or not, but I hope that this opens your eyes and insight and help you to understand this could be a potential reason why we're seeing the problem we have with racial injustice in this country. Pay attention to this. Here's some U.S. historical facts. Out of 100 U.S. senators, only 3 are African American. There are only 3 African American senators in the U.S. Senate, right? Out of 100. So we are not even represented in government. I want you to think about this. Could this be why we're not seeing justice as we should? We only have 3 voices that are fighting for us and fighting for our rights and fighting for equality in our governmental system. We have 97 other senators who are not even African American. And I'm not saying that they don't have an interest in the African American community, or they're not doing good things to pass laws to help our people. But just think about that imbalance of representation in U.S. government. Out of 100 senators, 2 per state, only 3 of those senators are African American. That means that if you say that 2 required from each state, if we were to put 2 in one state, we only have one other 50% representation from another state. The rest of the states are not even represented by the African Americans in those states. So think about that in history. Here's another one. There have only been 4 African American governors in U.S. history. Wow! Did you hear what I just said? There's only been 4 governors, African American governors, in U.S. history. So we got a governor over every state in the United States, and only 4 have ever been elected to govern that state. Maybe this is another problem we're facing. We have no representation at the state level. So I talked about U.S. Senate. We don't have the proper representation there. But now, even when it gets down to our state, the governors, right? We just went through COVID where governors were making decisions about each state that they govern. Only 4 of those have ever served as a governor. And did you know that of those 4, 2 of them only became governor because the others were forced out because of some political corruption or something happened? They had to resign, and that they were deputy governors and then got moved into position. So really only 2 African American governors have ever been elected to govern a state. I want you to think about that. Here's the third one. Only one, all of the U.S. presidents, only one African American president, Barack Obama, has ever been elected. Think about those statistics. Could that be why we're still struggling with racial injustice? Because in our country, in our government that is supposed to govern all people equally, we don't have the proper representation. Our voice is not being heard on Capitol Hill. Our voice is not being heard in the White House. Our voice is not being heard on the streets. Our voice is not being heard in every state because we're not even represented in government. I want you to think about this. So let me give you 3 things that you can do to improve social and racial equality based on those facts that we just heard. Let me give them to you. Number 1, we need to improve our influence. When you're in government, you have influence, you have a voice. And how do we do that, Adam? Let's run for political office. Bring influence to our government. Get involved in your community. Create foundations that will help to support our causes, support each other, and most importantly, vote. I know you've heard it all the time, but maybe when you look at those statistics now, you'll see why voting is so important. We have voted people into office that have not had maybe the African American community's interests at heart. And so that's why this brutality and things is being permitted and allowed, because we don't even have representation. We don't have a voice to effect laws and effects change in our country. Pay attention. Here's number 2. We have to improve our impact. So first is improving our influence. Next, we have to improve our impact. How do we do that, Adam? Start making contributions to humanity and to your fellow African Americans. Don't just live for yourself. I've been preaching this long before we got into this dilemma. Don't just live for yourself. Find your purpose. Use your talent. Amplify your voice. Start making an impact in the lives of others. So we can't just live for ourselves anymore. We can't keep taking selfies and be all about ourselves. We have to start contributing to humanity and to the lives of others and making our impact on this generation. Here's number 3. We have to improve our income. Okay, we got to turn off Netflix, turn off watching sports, playing video games. We have to develop a new skill now. We have to get more training and more education. We got to raise our financial IQ. That's a whole new language. Some people don't even understand what I'm saying. We have to seek ownership. Are we renting or are we owning? Do you own the building? Do you own the home? Do you own that asset? Here's what we have to move to. Start a business. Listen, income is power. And oftentimes our generation and our culture has become disempowered, or we don't have power because we don't have income. Income is what creates the influence, and we can't have influence and we can't make an impact like we need to if we don't have the income that supports our agenda, that supports what we want to accomplish. So as an individual, what can I do, Adam, to make a difference in this time? It has to start with us as individuals. Before we can effect change and come together and create laws and systems that change racial injustice and change what happens to George Floyd, we have to start with ourselves. So number 1, I want you to think about improving your influence. Get involved in politics. We need more representation in Congress. We need more representation in the White House. We need more representation in the areas that we can effect change and make a difference. Number 2, improve our impact. We have to make more contributions to humanity, to African Americans. Stop just living for ourselves. Number 3, we have to improve our income. Income will always allow us to make more impact and have more influence. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that has resonated with you, and I hope that has made an impact. I'm going to be teaching more videos like this, and so I just want to share my voice. I'm getting out to amplify my voice in this time and season and offer some real solutions that I feel that can really help in this time. We have got to do things differently. You know the definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over, but expecting a different result. If we want to see change, my friends, if we want to see a difference, we have to start doing something different. And it starts with us as individuals. We have to have representation. We have to show up in politics, show up in the government, show up in business, show up with income. We have to start supporting one another. So I hope this has been insightful and helpful for you. This is Adam White Speaks. Adam White is speaking. I hope you're listening. Take care.